Welcome to Getting Down to Business. I'm Ashley Curtis, Career Counselor and Internship Coordinator with the Muma College of Business.
And I'm Jill Brown, Career and Academic Advisor. We are your hosts for this business podcast, connecting students with timely career conversations.
I am very excited for today's episode. Today we have with us Patty and Gavin, Beta Alpha Psi President and Faculty Advisor. I'll let you introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Patty Gockel. I'm a professor at the Lynn Pippinger School of Accounting, where I've taught for about 20 years, and I am the faculty advisor for Beta Alpha Psi and have been since the group was formed about 14 years ago.
My name is Gavin Kochowski. I'm the current president at Beta Alpha Psi. I'm a senior accounting student. I'll be graduating this fall, and I transferred last year from Valencia College up in Orlando.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the importance of student organizations, how they can advance your career, and how you can get involved.
Before we jump in, we like to kind of ask our guests, do you have some favorite quote or mantra that helps you get through during those tough times? Gavin?
You know, it's cliche, but just do it from Nike. You know, whether it's something good, bad, hard, easy, whether it's school, homework, life, or whatever it may have you just got to get it done, get through it, and push through. So
I totally relate to that. I'm an action-oriented person, so love it. Patty?
And I would say just keep it simple. So when things seem overwhelming, just break it down to the basics, do the basics, and if one does a good job, things tend to work out.
I love that. All right, so we're going to head into our next section that we do with all of our guests. We're essentially going to do a rapid fire terminology, how you interpret a word. So I'm going to start with Patty.
Career-focused words.
Yes.
All right.
I'm going to start with Patty, and we'll bounce back and forth. You'll each get a word, okay? So, Patty, adaptable.
Flexible.
Gavin, entrepreneur.
get her going.
Okay. Success.
Career choice.
And leadership.
Respect.
Very nice.
Nice.
You guys have some
We
good ones.
try to change up the words, but it's always interesting to see what first comes to mind. So,
Yeah.
Yay, thanks for playing. All right, we're going to get down to business then. And please tell our listeners, what is Beta Alpha Psi all about?
Well, Beta Alpha Psi is an international organization of finance, accounting, and information systems students. There are about 300 chapters worldwide, most in the United States, but we also have chapters in China, Australia, and places over in Europe. So it's pretty exciting. It's been around for over 100 years. We are lucky to have a chapter here at USF St. Pete. It was formed about, well, like I said in my intro, about 14 years ago. You have to have certain credentials of the school to even get a chapter. There's a national organization that oversees us, if you will, and we are responsible for doing professional activities, which I'm sure we'll talk about later. We're also responsible for doing a fair amount of service activities with the community, and we're also in charge of what are called reaching out, which are extra things that we do either to service the community or in terms of professional. We have two big meetings every year, a national meeting and a regional meeting. Cut that out. And the students compete. They do presentations to all their fellow students as well as employers. And it's really fun. The students learn so much. What I've seen in my time as faculty advisor is the students just grow so much being in Beta Alpha Psi. They're exposed to these wonderful professionals who go out of their way to help the students. They learn so much. They learn that next step going from school to career. It just gives them that leg up when they start, as well as they meet future employers every single week.
Oh, wow.
And it's just a wonderful opportunity. I was in Beta Alpha Psi when I was in college.
Nice.
And it was one of the best things I ever did. So it's just a wonderful organization. It's been around a long time. It's extremely well respected. The employers all know who it is, and we're very lucky to have it, and the students just get so much out of it.
Do you have anything to add, Gavin, from the student perspective?
Sort of piggybacking off what Professor Gockel said, joining Beta Alpha Psi really does help you in terms of your professionalism and just being able to talk to professionals. You know, I've had students coming over this past semester who are sort of shaky with talking with potential employers or just the presenters in general.
Right.
And by the end of the semester, they're super confident asking questions and networking. It's great to see.
So tell us, who can join Beta Alpha Psi?
Anyone with an accounting or finance major or minor. And the only
Or
rule.
minor.
Yeah, I
Okay,
didn't know that.
That's cool.
Yeah, okay. So let me clarify then. Marketing major, does it have to be a business major though?
I don't believe so. As long as it's an
Okay.
accounting and finance minor,
Yeah.
you're
Gotcha.
good.
Okay.
Excellent, good.
Very
See,
nice.
we're learning.
Yeah.
Mhm. Sorry, I interrupted. the
Oh, no,
flow.
you're
yes.
good.
Who can
Um,
join?
So anyone with a 3.0 GPA or above. Now it is concrete, but it's not. If there is a reason, just let me know or let whoever the president at the time know,
Mhm.
and hopefully you guys can work something out. But other than that, you have to, as Professor mentioned earlier, there's points you have to do. You have to go to a certain amount of events, go to a certain amount of service and professional events. But that's really it. Just those three metrics.
And you pledge the first semester, correct?
Kind
Is that
of.
what you call it, or you're a candidate?
You're a candidate. So
Okay.
you're a candidate the first semester, and then you get initiated the
All
second
right.
semester. So with 2 semesters of reaching your hours, you're
What are the
initiated.
requirements in terms of hours and then different events that you have to attend?
It's 6 hours per semester of professional attendance. So we have a professional come in every single week, and they present for usually an hour, and they're great topics like how to interview. We had a fashion show this year, Dress for Success.
Ooh.
Also, emotional intelligence, how to get along with others at work, the difference between tax, audit, and consulting, what it's like to work in a bank. So it's a variety of topics. So you just have to attend 6 meetings, and they're probably out of 15 opportunities during the semester.
Okay.
Then you also have to do 6 hours of service. We usually have one big Beta Alpha Psi event, like we've done the breast cancer walk, we've done Habitat for Humanity, we've cleaned up the Boys and Girls Clubs. We've had a lot of big events where you can get all your hours at once if you choose, or you can get hours on your own. So we like to say 6 plus 6 equals 16. So, because we're accountants, so you have to do 6 hours of each, but then you have to do 4 additional hours of either category. So 4 extra hours of professional, 4 extra hours of service, or a combination thereof. But what we find is most students go to most of the professional meetings because they're really good information.
You don't want to miss out on
Yeah.
They
that,
don't want
right?
to miss the information. They love going. And most of the people who talk are former alumni of Beta Alpha Psi who are now doing really, really well in their careers. So they like to hang out with us and just give us the inside scoop of where they work. So it's not very difficult to meet the hours, I
Okay.
would say.
Yeah,
And
no,
I
it
can
sounds-
see that because you're talking about really relevant situations
Yeah.
like interviews, and
They're
I love
super
emotional
relevant.
intelligence. So
Mhm.
I love
Yeah.
that that's included.
We've done personality tests.
Ooh,
We've
Oh, that's right.
done-
Didn't you do the disc one time?
Yeah,
Or-
we've done all kinds of different topics. And what I find is they're very interesting, very relevant. And the students go to them because they're so good. So no one has trouble making the professional hour requirement.
Right.
And then the service pre-COVID, we did a lot of big things. Post-COVID, we've
It's
been
coming back.
restricted
It's coming
somewhat,
back.
but it's coming back.
That's
So
right.
we're going to do our big service events again.
Okay.
Wonderful.
I have to back up to the GPA because I've had this question, and for transfer students coming in, you've got a transfer GPA, USF GPA, and overall, it's confusing. So is that the cum they're looking at, an overall?
Yeah, so it's your cumulative. So when you
Okay.
go in, Florida Shines is usually what I tell people to do
Okay.
if they're transfer students to
Mhm.
send me their GPA. It'll have each school GPA there, and then it'll say cumulative at the bottom. I'm only looking at cumulative.
All right.
Because let's say you got a 2.8 one place and a 4.0 at another school. Let's
Right.
say you're balancing out, a 3.4 there.
Yeah.
I'll take your 3.4.
Yeah, heck yeah. Okay. And even if it's close, we've had those discussions too. So I always tell them to go attend a meeting, right? At the beginning of the semester,
Yes.
you usually have your recruitment events and such
Yes.
to be on the lookout for, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, usually the first week of the semester, look for the intro session. We'll have an intro session and explain all the hours and the GPA, et cetera, et cetera. But we want as many students as we can get. So, be sure to attend the intro session.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Professor Goggle, congrats, recently were awarded the Kirkering and Barbario Fellowship. And
Yes.
I have to
That's
point
huge.
this out because for our listeners, the fellowship recognizes faculty who have a history of excellence in delivering classroom instruction, proficiency in their field, as well as extensive engagement with the community. And I think they can already see that with your involvement with Beta Alpha Psi now. And 20 years, you said, at USF?
I've been here almost 20
Wow.
years, yes, shockingly.
So how did you become involved then? I mean, it seems a natural transition, but I mean, tell us the story of that.
Well, after college, I went to work in public accounting, one of the big four, and we did hire a lot of students from Beta Alpha Psi, so I became very familiar with the hiring end of that. Then after that, I worked in industry, and again, we looked for students from Beta Alpha Psi, so I saw how really important it was for the students to be in Beta Alpha Psi. So when we were forming a chapter here, I offered to be the faculty advisor, because also when I was in college and I was in Beta Alpha Psi, it was so formative for me. I was pretty shy in college, and I was very shy about talking to partners and people in industry. I was so intimidated. But I was in Beta Alpha Psi for 3 years in college. I started as a junior, and by the time I graduated from grad school, I stayed an extra year, I could interview with the best. And it was because of Beta Alpha Psi. And I went to the national convention, I went to the regional conventions, and I just grew so much. And so I knew how important it was for the students, both from being on both sides of it. I had been on the student side, and I had also been on the hiring side. So when we came here and we weren't offered, we had to fight to get a chapter. So luckily, USF is so well regarded, we were able to get a chapter. So we fought to get a chapter and got it. I wanted to be the faculty advisor to kind of give back, because it had been so instrumental in my career.
That's awesome. Bottom line, join Beta Alpha. Gavin, talk to us a little bit about what leadership skills you've developed in your time as president, and you know what it's taught you and how you see that bringing that forward into your career.
So I've definitely got better with talking to professionals. Obviously, you know, there's an air of respect you're gonna have with talking to professionals, but it's not so much of a I'm looking up to you as above me now. It's like, okay, we're equals, and I respect what you've done to get to where you're at. But you know, at the end of the day, we're all people, and I think that's one thing that being in a leadership position in Beta Alpha Psi has taught me is it sort of, I want to say humanizes people, but it sort of teaches you that just because someone's a partner or a senior manager doesn't make them above you. You know, at the end of the day, we're all people. You know, if you stay in a company or stay in public or private long enough, you're going to be at their position one day. And they've been in your position before. So that's one thing that I say I've taken with me more than anything is it humanizes people. You know, I go about an hour early every single week to our meetings. And sometimes the firms will come also an hour early. So we'll have that hour just to get to know each other. That's also been something that I've really liked. I'd say outside of that, though, one thing I've learned is different communication skills. So running the chapter, I've had, you know, everyone come to me with different issues or different concerns. And I'd say one thing that's really stuck out is being able to communicate with people in a respectful manner as well as something that's effective. I try to keep, you know, I don't want to keep people there for an hour and a half. It's only a 5-minute meeting. So I'd like to cut it down, just get very professional, succinct, and at the end they make sure everyone's happy with the outcome.
I'm going to geek out on you for just a second. So the first point that you talked about really resonated with me. So my background is in leadership development. And as you say that, I think one of the common things that we talk about is authority. And I think when you see students coming in their first, second, third years, one of the things that's so important is to kind of dispel the belief that somebody in a higher authority position, you know, knows more. And so I think often we see folks coming to faculty members of like, you are the truth, right? You have all of the information. And I think sometimes students don't recognize that we as staff and faculty have so much that we learn from you. So thank you. I love that point.
I was going to key in on the relationship piece.
Yeah.
Building those relationships, having the opportunity to meet with an employer or a C-level executive or somebody. Those opportunities don't always exist in this world. Even though I feel like social media is supposed to bring us together, we should be able to reach out across the globe. It's still really tough sometimes. I mean, Teams and different ways to Zoom meetings and such, but still one-on-one contact. And I've told students before, this writes your cover letter to an internship opportunity. You can say, I enjoyed your presentation today on leadership. I really feel those skills and want to sharpen my own, and you're writing it up in your letter. It's so personal, and they will remember you and push your resume on up to the top, hopefully. But having that time, you know, building those relationships. So I think that's so valuable.
Yeah.
What would you say, we were talking about skill development, but beyond that, like what value has Beta Alpha Psi brought in helping prepare you for this future career? You said you're an accounting major, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So in the accounting field, how would you say Beta Alpha Psi has helped you?
It's helped me held myself to a higher standard.
Nice, yeah.
Not that I didn't before.
Okay.
Being a part of a relatively prestigious organization
Sure.
instills some sort of value in me. Obviously, it's not very tangible, but having that in the back of my mind, and especially being in a leadership role where people, for whatever reason, will come to me for advice on accounting and careers and internships and everything. I'd like to have some sort of groundwork and base knowledge to sort of give that advice. So I'd say that. I'd say that for
But
sure.
This is the piece where a lot of times students are like, I don't know how to build these leadership skills, right? And all of a sudden you're finding yourself in a position where people are coming to you,
Mhm.
right? And you never probably saw yourself in that role necessarily, right?
Not much, no.
So it's just, it's an opportunity, so many opportunities. But were you going to say something? Add to that?
No, I was just going to say it's been really rewarding from my standpoint to
Mhm.
see the presidents especially come in from when they start their role as president to usually they just serve one semester. They've grown astronomically. I've seen students who literally are shaking up there at the podium initially, and by the end they are flawless and they are more than ready to assume additional leadership responsibilities and wherever their path takes them.
I'm curious, Gavin, what brought you and what made you want to run for Beta Alpha Psi president?
So I joined, this is actually only my second semester in Beta Alpha Psi.
Okay.
I joined in fall 2021 because I wanted to network and get to know more people in the accounting field. I came from computer science, and I came from logistics management before that on a career field. So I didn't know anyone in accounting. So I was like, Beta Alpha Psi, I've heard of it before because I have friends that are accountants at other schools, but I didn't know anyone at USF. So I joined it, and it's opened up a lot of doors for me socially and professionally as well.
Awesome. Speaking of networking, so Professor Gockel, can you talk to us a little bit about employer networking opportunities with the organization, internship opportunities that have come of that?
Oh, they're outstanding. So if you're in Beta Alpha Psi for even a couple of semesters, you're going to meet your recruiters. Those are the ones that come to the meetings. So they come to present the topics to the students. And the reason they're coming is they want to give back, but they also want to meet you because they want to recruit you. So you're meeting your future potential employers multiple times. So by the time you go in for that interview that matters when you're a senior or perhaps in grad school, you've already met the person you're talking to and they know you quite well because they've seen you at various events we've had. We have an annual banquet in the fall that all the firms come to. We have an event called Meet the Firms, which is almost like a mini career fair that is held at SF St. Pete, which is fairly casual. They meet you there. They meet you weekly at the presentations. So you know them. We had 100% of our students receive internship offers this fall of 2021, from our event called Meet the Firms. 100%. Not even all the students wanted an internship, but they all got offers.
This is
Every
great.
single one. So, I mean,
Yeah.
without killing yourself to go through the interview process, there's such a huge leg up from
Yeah.
joining Beta Alpha Psi, and also just expanding firms that you might be interested in. Sometimes students say, I want to work for this bank. And then when they attend meetings for a semester as part of Beta Alpha Psi, they realize, maybe banking was a little limiting. Maybe I want to work in data analytics for Deloitte because I
Right.
can do that with a finance degree or whatever. They understand the world is a big place and maybe there are more options than they were thinking of initially. So I would say just from the networking standpoint, as well as just identifications of perhaps where your skills might be put to use, it's just an outstanding opportunity.
Jillian, it goes back to your point about relationships, right? And like why they're so important. I always say relationships are the currency of power. So, the more relationships you build, the more you can do with that.
Well, and to Patty's point, with the exposure to the variety of employers, because again, there may be a student may start with accounting and think they're going to do this particular field or be in this industry, and all of a sudden exposure to so many other avenues. So I always like to have that opportunity for students, as well as in finance field. Finance can be very broad, and sometimes students limit themselves with a career choice
Yeah.
without knowing all the different avenues available to them. So
I think that kind of occurred with you, didn't it, Gavin? When I first met you, when you first joined Beta Alpha Psi back in fall of 21, you were sort of headed one way, and I think you've changed.
Yeah.
You've pivoted.
yes, tell us more.
Absolutely. So when I joined Beta Alpha Psi, I came from computer science. I wanted to work in basically tech consulting
Okay.
for years. Like I've been coding since I was 9.
Wow.
Worked in it for a little bit, didn't like it, and I switched to accounting. So when I became an accounting major, I didn't know much about the field. I'm really good at math. I was like, okay, this is math. Like this is math, business, science, whatever. It's not. You use pretty basic algebra in accounting, and then Excel does the rest. So once I figured out what accounting actually was, I figured out, there's tax and there's audit and then there's consulting, which consulting and audit aren't too dissimilar. But when I joined Beta Alpha Psi, I had an idea that I wanted to go into consulting. Now I'm more on the audit side. I have an audit summer internship coming up that I'm pretty excited for.
I was just going to ask if you had some internships. Sorry, go ahead.
So I'm working audit. So that's definitely a big change from what I thought I was going to do. Not only from last year, but 5 years ago, I would never have thought myself, to work in audit.
Is this your first internship that you'll be doing in the field?
It is not. I had a tax internship this past
Okay.
spring, actually.
Ooh.
great.
So the benefit of that internship versus the next one, I mean, just tell our listeners, we really are trying to help students connect with internships, understand the value, and not just one, but
Yeah, I think there's a lot of value in just trying out different firms. And I don't mean this in a super selfish way. You find a firm that works for you. If you find a firm that you love, stick with the firm, do a great job at your internship and get that offer. But I think it's important for you as a person, if you want to be with a company for 5, 10, maybe 15 years and make partner, you want to make sure they're a good fit for you.
Mhm.
So I would say, apply for the internships. And one good thing that Beta Alpha Psi does is it offers you, I can't say a guarantee, but it offers you a pretty darn good shot at an internship. Like Professor said a few minutes ago, we had 100% placement last fall. This past spring, pretty much anyone who won an internship got one as well. And that was without a career fair. That was without Meet the Firms.
Yeah.
That was just off the meetings alone.
I just don't know any other organization that can help a student so directly. I mean, that is our job, but yet I'm still sending students to search engines, right, to find internships.
Yeah.
And then they have to make a connection and somehow get past AI or whatever it might be. And this breaks through all that red tape in a sense. And I love it. And that's why we have you here today, to help students see how easy and the value that it can bring to their future.
So I'm in contact with the firms quite a bit just
Mhm.
because I've been faculty advisor for so long. And they email me in the summer or the fall, hey, do you have anyone who doesn't have an internship or a permanent job position? Is there anyone in Beta Alpha Psi that you could recommend? And I'm telling you, this happens all the time.
Right.
So it's they want the Beta Alpha Psi students because it's a proven commodity. From their perspective, it's good GPA, and it's someone who's willing to join an organization and be part of a team.
Right.
And that's what the accounting and the finance world is all about now. You work as part of a team, pretty much.
Right.
So they want proven team members, and they also love people who took on the leadership positions because that's exactly who they want to hire.
I was going to say it's the perfect training ground.
Yeah.
They know what the type of candidates
Yeah.
coming out of Beta Alpha Psi.
They're pre-vetted.
Yes.
And to add on to what you just said, you know how firms reach out to you? I even have firms reach out to me on LinkedIn. I would say 2 to 3 a week. And it's
Wow.
gotten to the point where everyone I know who's looking for an internship already has one. So I'm turning people away because I don't know anyone.
All
So
right, I need to get
Yeah.
on your email
Yeah.
trail. Just go ahead and start shooting those at me. Okay.
we need more people in Beta Alpha Psi because firms want to hire us. There's just not enough of us.
Mhm.
So especially if you're having trouble finding an internship or you're having trouble finding your footing in the professional world, I think Beta Alpha Psi is perfect for you. And even if you do have an internship, Beta Alpha Psi helps you further connect and help further develop your own personal, professional, and social traits.
Gavin, this one's back at you, or Patty, either one. But what types of events and community engagement? I mean, we've spoken about several opportunities, but as a new member, what could they expect then that first term in?
Your first semester in, the first week we have an intro meeting, which is basically I'll go up on the podium, I'll explain what we look for in terms of the requirement for Beta Alpha Psi. So that's where you'll figure out the due amount, which is really low in comparison to other honor societies or even some of the fraternities. Your hour amount, and then what you expect of us. So at the end of the meeting, I'll ask, what are you looking for at Beta Alpha Psi? What are you most excited about? And most of the time, in my mind, I think we surpassed that because we're having firms come in every single week. You're getting 10 to 16 different firms coming in, and they're most, like Professor said earlier, most of them are looking to hire. And a lot of people come in, a lot of students will come in looking for internships or looking for that professional guidance. And I think we absolutely do deliver on that. In terms of events, this past semester, we did a beach cleanup. We had cleanup at Vinoy Park, and then we did, I believe, 1 or 2 dinners as well. In addition to that, we do have more national meetings on the grand scale. This is more for leadership positions or people interested in leadership positions. But our future vice president and I, we both went to a mid-year meeting a few weeks ago, and we both got a lot out of it. I even won the trivia at the end and got a KPMG mug too, which is pretty nice.
Nice.
Piggybacking on what Gavin was saying about the national meetings and the regional meetings. So picture in your mind 1,200 students in a hotel out in California. That's the national meeting. So 1,200
nice.
students from all over the world. And it's great for the students because they network with like-minded students. These are all good students. These are involved students. These are students who are going to be future partners and industry leaders. And they network with them at a young age, and they stay friends with them, which is pretty interesting. Also, the major employers all come to those meetings as well. So all the big 4, all the big industries, all the big banks, all the big finance companies, they're all there. And it's really eye-opening for the students. Some students, I've been out with students who have never flown on a plane before. And it's very eye-opening for the students. There's fun in the 3 days that we go as well. So we do that both nationally and regionally. The other thing I wanted to point out was we do hold meetings now on a hybrid basis. So we hold each meeting, Thursday is our current meeting date, which I don't think will change. In the late afternoon, we try to get as many people to come face-to-face as possible. The firms will come face-to-face. They'll come right here in our beautiful LPH building. And so many students will come face-to-face, but other students any student is also more than welcome to join online. So that works really well for the online students. I personally think face-to-face is more valuable just because you are networking, but you can network pretty darn well on the computer as well. We use Teams, and the students online have the opportunity to ask questions, and the firms will answer their questions right to them. So that's a good opportunity as well. So I wanted to point out that if you're an online student, and I know we have a lot of online students now, you certainly have the opportunity to join Beta Alpha Psi, and I really hope you do.
Thanks for pointing that out.
I love the accessibility of that. That's great.
Somebody mentioned resume earlier too.
Firms love to see Beta Alpha Psi on your resume. I've had firms in interviews tell me that having Beta Alpha Psi on your resume puts you in a different stack of resumes, so to speak.
The top stack.
It's gonna help you further propel yourself into a position, whether it's an internship or a full-time position. I'd say run for leadership if you so care to. Leadership really looks good. As Professor mentioned earlier, it shows that not only are you willing to work in a team, you're willing to work in the leadership position of the team. So you're dealing with different issues. You're dealing with scheduling events, scheduling professional meetings, dealing with any issues that the group might be having. It's a great experience.
You're gaining all those skills that we talked about earlier. Yeah, that's great.
All right.
Yeah.
So, Gavin, if you could go back in time and give yourself career advice, what would it be?
Network more. I did not network at all I'm 24 now, so from 18 to 22, I did not network with anyone, which was a mistake. Networking is key.
And when you say networking, I'm sorry, it's a big word and it's scary. What do you kind of mean by networking? What would you do specifically?
Just talking to people,
Okay.
really. Whether that's on LinkedIn, whether it's on people network through Twitter these days. Joining a group like Beta Alpha Psi, I never would have thought I would have joined a group in college. I did, and I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah.
I think networking, just talking to not only professionals, but other students as well, will make you more confident. It'll build your social skills. You'll have more stories to tell because At the end of those interviews, most of my interviews have been 30 minutes long. They'll run about 20, 25. Then they'll just want to hear stories about you yourself.
Mhm.
So it's nice to have
Ooh,
something to
get
tell
know
people.
you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
How can folks connect with the both of you?
So for me, if you have any questions for Beta Alpha Psi, just email me at president@bapusfsp.org. I answer pretty quickly. You could be a Beta Alpha Psi accounting. Maybe you're looking for internship or job. Just let me know and I can try to help.
And feel free to email me as well. My contact information would be on the Lynn Pippinger School of Accounting website, pgockel@usf.edu, and I would look forward to connecting.
Thank you both so much.
We definitely, as an accounting and finance career coach, I push Beta Alpha Psi, Delta Sigma Pi, joining a business or any type of student org.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing the details. Hopefully this has excited students as much as it excites us. 100% return on investment with internships should make everyone pop out of their chairs, I don't know, out of their car, trip on their bike, I don't. Anyway, thank you. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
a shout out to Innovative Ed for filming today and Destiny as a part of the suite here. So thank you.
Destiny. You can follow us on USF MUMA on all of our social media channels. So that's LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and you can subscribe to our podcast there.
That concludes another episode of Getting Down to Business, brought to you by the Kate Tiedemann School of Business and Finance in the Muma College of Business. Tune in every month for more career tips and expert industry advice.